Hey everyone, it's Khadidah Stone with Set in Stone, and I am live at CBC, and I have the absolute honor of having Tyleek McMillan. But as you know, on the show Set in Stone, I definitely love to read people's bios before getting into conversation. So I'm going to start with your bio. Is that cool?
That's cool with me.
Okay. So Tyleek McMillan is an internationally recognized young civil rights activist and movement strategist, a native of Lawrenceville, Virginia, by way of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and a proud graduate of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. Tyleek previously served as the National Youth Director for the Democratic National Committee, where he helped develop and implement comprehensive outreach and engagement strategies to reach, engage, and mobilize key stakeholders, communities, and coalitions in support of building democratic power. Tyleek's core passion is advocacy, where he works to educate lawmakers and stakeholders from the White House to corporate C-suites on the challenges and opportunities facing communities by advocating for more resources and policies that help invest and advance economic and social equality. Tyleek also helped organize the 2020 Commitment March on Washington and 2021 March on Voting Rights, which drew over hundreds of thousands to Washington, D.C., and called for racial justice, police reform, voting rights protections, census participation, and more. He has helped lead racial equity impact work at Gilead Science, fighting health and equity and community advancement campaigns for America's credit unions. And he's also a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Tyleek is a co-founder of Concerned Citizens DC, which is a youth-led organization responsible for some of the largest grassroots demonstrations in the nation's capital, and Youth Never Let Up Coalition, which is a group of national Gen Z social change leaders who foster community through grassroots organizing, brand partnerships, policy advocacy, and government relations. And also, Tyleek has been appeared on MSNBC. He's a part of the United States Black Chamber of Commerce 50 Under 40, Bloomberg 51 to Watch, Young, Green and Gifted 40 Under 40. He's been seen on Good Morning America, CBS News, Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, the whole thing.
Look, I'm grateful to be here, and I appreciate all the work that you do to highlight stories and share folks, and I'm excited to be here with you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so obviously I read your bio, but like I want to start with your journey, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the pinnacle? And obviously I read the article. We have a very similar story, but what was the pinnacle moment for you to say like, I got to do something?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I really give it to my family. I grew up in a family that you just couldn't sit by. Like my grandparents would drag us to work the polls. My grandmother was the one who went and sat in every school board meeting, every board of supervisor meeting. And me and my great grandmother at a young age, I enjoy sitting under the wisdom of my elders. And I sit with my great grandmother all the time. She used to watch C-SPAN, like literally the House floor proceedings. And I'm like who are all these older white people that's running our country? And I'm like, I don't see anybody that looks like me. I didn't feel represented. And I think it was in that moment as a kid where I said, I want a life in politics. I want to work in government. And then later on down the line, I was introduced to Reverend Al Sharpton from a family friend, Miss Kim, and from then I grew under his leadership in the work of National Action Network. And I'm grateful for where God has placed me and where He continues to amaze me and put me in different spaces. But I'm just grateful to do this work, and I carry the legacy of my family, and I stand on the shoulders of my sheroes and heroes, like my great grandmother and grandmother who really pushed me into this work, I believe.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. So I want to talk about the article that you did. So you talked about Black men and democracy.
Yep.
And why do you think that's important now?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think, a lot of times, as I said, shout out to Black women who have always been the backbone of our movements, who often go unheard. Often their stories, do not get amplified. But also at the same time, as we hear about some of the big leaders from Martin to Malcolm and to Frederick to Bayard Rustin, whose also stories has gone unheard for being openly gay and Black during a time where most folks didn't want to have that conversation. But at the same time, about Black men in politics, oftentimes it's this narrative that they're either sidelined, but also at the same time, I think Black men have a responsibility to be co-creators in this liberation alongside the work of Black women and being community. We are a part of that of moving that forward.
Yeah.
And oftentimes only thing we hear about Black men, is the fact of whether it's being incarcerated or this conversation of they don't come out and vote. And so, like I said, I think we have to be co-creators in our fight towards liberation.
I like what you said, co-creators, because I think a lot of people don't think of it that way.
Yeah.
So is there something specific that you are thinking of when you say co-creators that you would like to see Black men step up and do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, getting back to a place of one, being at the table and being thought leaders in conversation. Come back to how we show up in the community.
Yeah.
How we protect our community. How we're raising the next generation of young boys and men that's coming after us.
Yeah.
And I think there's a huge responsibility because I think that weight has often been put on mothers. Has often been put on the backs of Black women to take care of young Black boys and teaching them to be men. But I think there is an importance of Black men, redefining and taking that power back of being protectors and being and being the and being in community to raise up this next generation of young Black men that's coming up.
Yeah, I love what you said about like redefining it, because I do think it like needs to be redefined because people are only putting that responsibility on Black women, but it's like, no, Black men, you can be a part of this too. Like,
absolutely,
don't feel like you have to be siloed.
Absolutely.
Okay, so my next question is, do you think that the media plays a role in how it's being portrayed?
Absolutely. And I think oftentimes we see different narratives. I was in a conversation yesterday. I did I helped moderate a conversation with the National Coalition on Black Civil Participation and Black Youth Vote. They had a intentional conversation with Black men just in the room.
Yeah.
It was an authentic conversation, and it was a very, very great, safe space. And Pastor Tony Lee, pastor of Community Hope here in Maryland, made a comment about, we often hear this saying, the YN saying, YN.
Yeah.
And this narrative.
Yeah.
And he made a point, of which I think was a valid point. It becomes dangerous when we as a community have inherited that, calling our own young Black boys YNs. We have to redefine and also, shape what our narrative is. Oftentimes the media has portrayed whatever it has portrayed, but I think it's important for us to take our stories back. It's important for us to uplift Black voices. It's important for us to uplift Black media, Black papers.
Yep.
And not allow that mainstream media to really control our narratives, but allow us to tell our own story.
Yeah. Like, for real, like, you really are saying some real stuff right now. Seriously. Okay, so in your article, you obviously talked about race, but like liberation.
Absolutely.
What does liberation look like, particularly for Black men?
Yeah, absolutely. And also want to say, I want to shout out for the op-ed that I wrote. I have the honor of serving as the CBCF NREI National Racial Equity Initiative Task Force Ambassador, and that was a part of our work that we do with the task force.
Yeah.
But when we talk about liberation, I think about folks being free, being able to live freely, and that's economic justice, that is political justice, that is the fact of being able to live healthy lives. That's the fact of folks being able to express themselves and be themselves and stand in their own identity.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about liberation, I think about young trans kids, and I think about the fact of folks be safe in their own skin.
Yeah.
And I think liberation in totality. We can't talk about liberation if we're not including trans folk. We can't talk about liberation for Black people if we're not including. We're talking about women. We can't talk about liberation for Black people if we're not being inclusive of all Black people.
Yeah.
And I think that must be important in that conversation around liberation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think you kind of answered the next question, which was why do people struggle? Why do you think people struggle so much with the word liberation? You talked about all the ways that, like, the intersectionalities, but like when you really start to dissect it, people are so mind boggled by that. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think because a lot of times we get caught up in our own personal lives sometimes, where it becomes this idea of I'm just worried about my day to day, and oftentimes folks are trying to survive in this time.
Yeah,
And so
for
when
sure.
we're talking about liberation, we're talking about the fact of all people being able to be free. But oftentimes, I think we get so caught up in our day to day, or folks become complacent,
Yeah,
where they
absolutely.
get comfortable in their own day to day, where
Absolutely.
they're not ready to shift or think outside of the box.
Mhm.
Sometimes folks get so boxed in of what they believe life should be, or how life should work, that they're not thinking outside the box.
Yep.
We can, and whether that's getting caught up in the politics, whether that's getting caught up in religion, or whether that's getting caught up, or whatever sentiments that you hold dear to you,
Yep.
and your own morals and beliefs, that sometimes you don't think about what other people are facing.
Yeah.
And I think when we talk about liberations, you have to think outside of yourself, because that's a part of it.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And you literally strolled right into the next question. So perfect, which is going to be about you kind of explored themes of resistance and survival in your article. Can you explain like how, which I mean you kind of did, but go a little bit deeper, how to integrate that into society in a way that doesn't feel like we're trying to survive, in a way that we can thrive and survive at the same time.
Absolutely. A feeling safe,
Mm.
like folks being able to feel safe. But I think in order for that, it's important for us to all understand what our power is.
Mhm.
And I think oftentimes, we can't be Superman and Superwoman, or whatever superhero we want to be, and be save the world. But I think it's important for folks to really hone in on what their purpose is, to don't lose sight of their purpose, to be able to, as I say this all the time, everybody can't bring the macaroni and cheese to the cookout.
Yeah, for real, everybody.
Not, some aunties can't bring that potato salad. And so it's like, you got to know what you specialize in.
Yeah.
And whether that's, organizing, whether that's fundraising, whether that's, your communication skills.
Yeah.
If you know how to cook towards the cause. If you know how to sing towards the cause. So like finding what's important to you.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, that helps us move us forward.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to know what you bring to the table. You
got
to know what you bring to the cookout.
You got to know what to bring to the cookout. and you got to know who can bring what to the cookout.
You got to. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that. I like that. Thank you.
No problem,
so we talked about something that popped in my mind as you were talking was today we lost a legend, Asada Shakur. And, she did a lot of making communities feel safe. I don't care what nobody say. The Black Panther Party was not a terrorist organization. They literally made communities feel safe. And so to that
free
point,
breakfast program.
Yeah, the reason
why
we have
free breakfast is because
the reason the kids can eat in the school is because of them.
Absolutely.
Right. So when you talk about communities being safe, do you feel like those are tactics we can use again to bring that into the fold of safety for our communities?
Absolutely. And I think, we must also hold the pillars in our community, hold them back to their feet to the fire. Like when we think about, our churches being home bases for organizing, you don't see that often. And so I think, tapping back into something, whether that's the faith community or tapping into, some of our other local organizations, and really folding them in, really diving into that, back to that community aspect is going to be important for safety. And also, I think, allowing communities to describe and describe what safety means to them. And I think oftentimes, politicians and leaders like to define, what safety means for certain communities.
Yes.
But I think allowing communities to take their power back and define what safety looks like.
Yeah.
And I also want to say that the occupation of DC is not safety.
No, it's not. It's not. The occupation of
free DC.
Memphis to who else? Where else is he at? Trying to go to Chicago?
He's trying to go
Memphis, like literally, yeah.
But
that's
free
not
DC.
safety. Yeah,
free
absolutely.
DC and DC stay hood. By the way,
absolutely. DC stay hood through and through.
Yeah, that's right.
So the next question is, are there any like modern day figures or activists or everyday people that you see that are like exemplifying these principles that we're talking about as far as like liberation and democracy?
Absolutely. I think there's so many brilliant young folks. I mean, I'm inspired to be in community with folks who are continually, pushing the needle forward. Like I said, as you read earlier, being a part of the Youth Never Let Up Coalition was a coalition of young folks from across the country that we all just came together,
Yeah.
and building and helping create community.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of folks. I start naming folks. I won't be able to
I don't
stop.
know. It's up to you. You want to name drop? You can.
I mean,
You can absolutely name drop if
But
you want.
I would say I'm also inspired by the folks that we're seeing come up in, whether that's in Congress or the folks that are coming up in different state houses who are really pushing the needle, who are changing what the dynamic of what we think politics looks like.
Yeah.
Shout out to fearless leaders like Jasmine Crockett. Shout out to leaders like Summer Lee from Pennsylvania. There's so many great leaders out there that are really shaking the table, and and shout out to leaders like Malcolm Kenyatta at the DNC that's doing great work shaking the table over there.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's a lot of great folks doing some great work.
Yeah, I agree. So how do you? First of all, working in politics is not easy. Okay.
Absolutely not.
So what is your balance? How do you deal with the emotional toll, the mental toll that it can bring? I'm not saying you deal with it all the time, but I know there are moments where you're like, okay, this is too much.
Yeah.
So how do you come back to yourself, center yourself? What does that look like?
Well, I think first and foremost is my faith. My faith keeps me grounded. I believe that I would not be where I am if it had not been for the grace of God over my life.
Amen. Absolutely.
I'm grateful for the silent prayers of my mother and my grandmother. And that's first and foremost. But also, shout out to my friends that are here in DC that they sometimes keep my mind off of some things.
Yeah.
I love a good bottomless brunch.
I feel like you can never go wrong with a bottomless brunch.
Never go wrong with a bottomless brunch. So I love hanging out with my friends. I love to just spend time. I love going to the movies. I love to take care of myself. I love to get a haircut. I love to take care of myself.
All of that.
All the things.
Yeah.
All the things.
I love that.
All the things.
Okay, so when it comes to the youth, we're gonna switch to because I mean we are young.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the future.
Because I feel like I just turned 29 last week.
Say I'm 29. Like we about to be 30.
I'm knocking on the door.
We about
my granddad told me the other day I gotta get my AARP card soon.
Oh no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
But I'm like, yeah, I'm young, but
no, we ain't that old.
I ain't getting younger.
We not that old.
Yeah.
So, how do you see the future? What do you think these children that are coming up? Oh, because the thing is, let's be honest, a lot of the activism that have changed countries, not just ours, comes from younger people, young people.
Absolutely.
And if we want to be technical, the founding fathers of this country were 19, 20, 21.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think? I mean, especially where we are right now in history, do you think that it's going to be our age folks or the 19, 18? What do you think?
Absolutely. As my mentor, Reverend Sharpton, often said to me, he said, it's not about a generation that knows all or a generation that has all the energy, but it's the synergy that really matters. And I think, being able to hone in at the wisdom of our elders, and also, embracing the energy of young folks and the bright ideas and new ideas of young people is going to be important for us to move forward. But actually, I'm very optimistic in this next generation, and because we don't take no. We don't take no for answer. But we say no. They say hell no. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like that is
That's
great.
True. That's true.
It gets no better than that. And so I'm very optimistic, and I think they come with fresh, newer ideas. They're not taking the little small things, but they saying no. We don't deserve just the half a corner, but we deserve the whole thing. And so I'm very optimistic in the young folks. And as I said, they don't mind getting in the streets. Like you said, young people has always led the movement.
Yeah.
I think about my alma mater A&T with 4 college freshmen.
Yeah.
Woolsworth Counter. So I mean, like I said, young people has led the way, and I'm optimistic that they will continue to lead the way.
Yeah, they're definitely revolutionized the way that we think about things. I mean, TikTok.
Absolutely.
Coming up, we ain't had that.
Absolutely. And I want to shout out the Gen Z historian Khalil, my great friend, who is doing amazing work highlighting and lifting up Black stories that often go unheard. And so I think being intentional and having things like that is going to be important. So shout out to our content creators. Who are using their platforms.
Yes.
Shout out to you who using your platform to highlight this type of work. because you can be talking about anything. We could be talking about Betty shot o'clock, but here we are. We're talking about what's
real
important.
stuff.
What's
real
important.
stuff. Can we talk about that for a little bit?
What?
How I'm tired of everybody having a podcast talking about stuff that don't matter. Am I alone in that feeling? Clearly, I'm not. But like,
I think we have got to a space where we have been so hooked on, you know, the Zeus and the not you know, now that's TV. We said I'm not watching it. Now I'm watching it. but sometimes we can't get so focused on that where we lose sight.
Yeah.
I've heard an elder say, you know, some of us have been in the house so long that we have forgotten what the storm feels like.
Wow.
We have not arrived.
We have not.
We have not arrived. And I know we've seen a lot of gains. We got a lot of privilege, but we have not yet arrived. And I think, and that is the importance of convening at places like this.
Yeah.
To remind ourselves where we have come from, what lies ahead, but also to remind ourselves that we haven't arrived. We dealt with Jim Crow. We dealing with James Crow.
Literally.
So we just got to figure out how to deal with it.
Literally. I went to the panel with Joy Reid yesterday. She said,
shout out to Joy.
Shout out to her. I love you, girl. She said she names Jim Crow is like now Don Crow, like for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you said, wait, you said James Crow?
I said James Crow. James, Jim.
James, Jim,
and them.
Don, everybody.
James, Jim, and them.
Everybody gotta go. Everybody gotta go. So, to the back to the you. No, back to we haven't arrived. Okay, every time I see a baddies video go viral, I always say we will never be free.
You know. It's insane. It's insane. It's really insane.
Every time. Okay, so I have a few more questions. So where do you how do you want this to be addressed now?
How do I want this to be addressed? I think that's a tough question. How I want this to be addressed is
liberation and democracy, like everything that we've discussed.
I want it to be addressed by us allowing safe spaces to allow people to share emotion, for people allowing us to all, you know, be at the table. I always say we all have our own lived experiences. So allowing folks to really stand in their lived experience. I think once we're able to embrace each other's lived experience and think beyond just our own lives, we really can. That's how we set each other free.
Yeah, I agree. So if you had to give advice to young Black activists that you know want to tell their own stories or work towards the change in their community, what would you tell them? I
would tell them to keep their head held high, keep your chin lifted up, shoulders high, because you deserve to be in the space. And when you walk into the room, know that you deserve to be there. You deserve to be there because your lived experience, your story, is your credibility for being in that room. There's no certain look. Oftentimes we see this look like, oh, you got to look a certain way, act a certain way to be in these spaces. Come in your authentic self, and I believe when you walk into any room, your authentic self,
absolutely,
God will make room for you.
Absolutely, every time.
Because the table, he said, I prepared the table before in the presence of your enemy. So
Pastor,
don't give me a hint.
Pastor, Reverend, Bishop, Deacon. But no, that's real. That's real. Yeah. So, one more question. Okay. So last question. If you had a magic marker to change anything right now or future, whatever, what would your magic marker do?
I would remove Donald Trump out of the White House. Yep.
Yeah. That's the only. You got the magic marker.
I got the magic marker.
You can do whatever.
What else can I do?
That's it.
I'm canceling student debt.
Okay. All right. What else you got?
I am,
give me one more. 3. You got. Okay.
The third one. I don't know. What's the third one I'm doing?
What's the third one?
I don't know. I don't know the third one I'm doing.
Free healthcare.
Free healthcare.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Free healthcare. Okay. We'll take it.
We deserve that.
Yeah, we do.
We deserve it.
We do. Well, Tylee, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
This was Set in Stone, and like I said, we're live at CBC. Super excited to be here. Thank you for having us. Bye.